IEBC, if in any time has rigged an election, it has done so in favor of a particular candidate. And to me, the person who's defending the Venezuelans more than they defend people from Shauri Moyo are the ones who are guilty.
Did you listen to the Hot Breakfast this morning? Here's what you missed.
Gentlemen, welcome to Hot 96.
Thank you so much.
Kipchumba, first time to meet you, man.
Yeah.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
As great minds I've met before.
In other assignments.
The inferior ones that have taken time.
Bichache,
Yes, sir.
is the debate going to happen tomorrow or not? Is Baba going to show up? Because according to what we're hearing, he's going to be in Jericho somewhere in a town hall.
Well, it seems that it's firmed up that he is going to be in Jericho in a town hall. To what time he would do that, we don't know. Whether Ruto will then be debating with Wajakoya by himself is the question that we've got to ask. I think the ship has sailed on Baba's participation, which I think personally is a sad affair, because I think our presidential candidates need to take debates seriously. And on that seriousness, I think where the media blundered is when they allowed, for example, Sakaja to come in late. They allowed our good friend Rigathi to come in with a Mwakenya and read from a piece of paper, and it is those things that really I think have irked the candidate for Azimio. So will we have a debate with Raila on it? Unfortunately, no. Fortunately for the people of Jericho and the people who are going to be in that platform, then they will get to debate with him directly.
Why do we allow our politicians to be reckless? If royal media today was to give an interview, even if it was to be done on the sun outside there, on the scorching earth, on the scorching sun, nobody will take your excuse, Jeff. We will continue hiring whoever will hire and move on. But how we have allowed politicians to just make their own rules, believe in them, and sell the same to us is where we begin to go wrong as a society. Whereas when we look at the issue of whether Baba appears on the debate or not, we should look at it at the larger perspective of how politicians treat Kenyans.
Do you feel like our moderators are addressing the main issues, or it's just purely entertainment?
Nick, what I will tell you is this, and if Baba was to raise the quality of moderation, I will be with him on that. We have what I will call heavily showbiz and kind of showmanship kind of moderators. We rarely go on issues. Let me ask, for example, Nick and Jeff, what are the issues that affect Kenyans? The issue of the price of unga.
Yeah, unga, fuel,
yes, and
incomes,
all those are the germane issues for Kenyans. But we end up spending so much time on gossip about the politicians as opposed to their visions to the people of Kenya. So I think that is where the problem is. And at the end of the day, what we need to ask ourselves is this: do our journalists serve the public, or they serve personal interest? When you look at some of the questions and extend even these to gubernatorial debates,
yes,
there have been some of the very mundane things being discussed around there. And whereas public debates are supposed to help Kenyans just interrogate issues away from a platform. Why will it be that we need a debate? Is because there are issues that cannot be addressed well in a public baraza, where sloganeering, or in the rooftop of a V8, where sloganeering is the order of the day.
Yes.
When you come to a place where public intellectuals are meeting, we expect that society ought to benefit, so that the issues that ought to come out of that debate ought to go deeper than what we'd see in those on top of V8s and everywhere where you can say anything, because in a political rally there is no fact checking. Yes, we expect that if you are in Quer, when you say something, we first check quickly and we say this is it. But as my closing point in terms of the quality of moderations, I think also we have allowed a small coterie of journalists to lead that part, because we have very solid journalists in this country. Let us not take it for granted.
In this country, we know we have politicians whose character is questionable. If we had an IEBC process and a political party process that by the time you're becoming a candidate for gubernatorial selection or for presidential selection, that your character is above board, then let's discuss issues. But the truth is, we have leaders in this country whose even basic credentials we doubt. And therefore, it becomes important to establish in the mind of the people that this person has the capacity to deliver what he is promising. Because we know our politicians know how to promise. We know how to write infrastructure. We know how to write jobs for Kenyans. We know how to write that. But the question of integrity and character is what bedevils this country. And unless we solve that, all the promises that they are giving us is as good as hogwash.
By the way, what is the deal with the Venezuelans? What's the story?
We are 14 days away from an election. What we really need to be asking ourselves is, if we have credible questions, we need to put them forth. And we reduce so much propaganda, because at the end of the day, it affects the credibility of this election. The Venezuelans, as we are told, or as we've seen in the letters of Chebukati, what we need now to ask ourselves is this: do they affect the credibility of the election? Yes. What a normal Kenyan will ask outside here, Jeff, would be, what is the procedure if I were to deliver phones for IEBC? Do I need to declare? Do I need to carry them in a personal bag? Those are the kind of questions we need to ask. But if we just come with a wholesale condemnation of IEBC, we lose the plot in the process. And what we are asking our political competitors, Jeff, is very simple. There is a whole infrastructure of how we communicate with IEBC. I happen to be part of the team that goes to those meetings. There is how those communications are done. As we speak today, representatives of these political parties, Azimio, Kenya Kwanza, are in Greece, they are in Athens, looking at the process of printing and even packaging of the votes and all those documents. So it is not like IBC is working in isolation. There are teams that meet in terms of political IT, the technology around the elections. So at the end of the day, there are several avenues that should be exploited, and one of it is not because we've allowed politicians to run away with it. There are so many issues that will be swept under the carpet, and Kenyans will just see the slogans and not the reality. So one, and then again the other question which normal or ordinary Kenyans should ask: why will we bring stickers from Venezuela while our own companies print them here? Because that is the other question. Because it's just a name and a barcode reader. Why don't we give it to Nick or Jeff to print it for us at any company in Mombasa Road and we move on?
Kenya shillings, we print them here on Thika Road. And in fact, it's written there, De La Rue, right? We have no problems using Kenyan currency. But two things we print outside the country: we print exams outside the country, and we print ballot papers outside the country. Why? Because our trust deficit in the IEBC is something that exists, and this trust deficit is not something that is uncalled for. William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta know this very well, because their election was annulled in 2017 at the behest of who? At the behest of the IEBC. And we know, secondly, that the IEBC and how it handles elections are very, very critical to whether we'll have peaceful time or not. Now, let me then set a bit of thinking around this sticker debacle. Number one, if you walking across the streets of Nairobi happen to chance on a strange looking man or woman, and they happen to be carrying stickers written IEBC Shauri Moyo Ward, would you be alarmed or not? The answer is yes, you would be. You would take pictures, you would even do a citizen arrest and present that person to the police saying he is acting in a suspicious manner. Now, today, Kenya Kwanza wants us to defend, and I don't know how I can do this, how someone who has not been declared walks in with IEBC related materials, IEBC related flash disks, and instead of taking them to the IEBC headquarters, they've been chilling in an apartment in Nairobi for a couple of weeks. And you want to tell me that that is normal standard procedure? Let me tell you something. Me, I have a small company that employs less people than I have children. The issue is this. When something is mine for my company lands in the country, where am I to receive them? At the airport, right?
Correct.
I should be right there. Number two, if these materials are sensitive to a thing such as an election, where would IEBC be when these people land? Number two, why would we need a lengthy explanation from IEBC if it was something that was normal? Number three, why are we using personal people, these things being delivered to Abdi at his own apartment? All of these things do not make sense. But at the end of the day, what is a good election? One of the tenets is transparency. And this particular issue creates opaqueness. Anybody who's celebrating the opaqueness is suspicious to me. Why? There is no way you can celebrate when a referee calls a free kick when no one fell. Correct? So when someone is defending such decisions from the IEBC, I then suspect and conclude that you are the benefactor and indeed the sponsor of such misbehavior. Because let us remember, IEBC, if in any time has rigged an election, it has done so in favor of a particular candidate. And to me, the person who's defending the Venezuelans more than they defend people from Shauri Moyo are the ones who are guilty.